I'm delighted to have Sam Buffington from St. Paul District 7 Planning Council. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, St. Paul has a rich history and an active neighborhoods, and from that I understand they came up with the planning councils to kind of manage those districts. What is District 7? What does it encompass? And then tell me a little bit about what you do for the community.
Okay, so we're a private nonprofit, and the way it works is that the city officially recognizes a community organization in each neighborhood. They label it out as planning councils, and so we're District 7. So we go from Lexington to 35E, and then the train tracks in the north, which is just past Minnehaha, Pierce Butler area, down to University Avenue. So that includes the Mount Airy housing projects and Capitol Heights neighborhood, as well as East Midway, which is over more towards Lexington. So.
Okay. So what type of services do you do or for the community?
Well, we do community organizing, so we get community input on things. So we don't actually run our own programming, although sometimes we'll do a training or something like that. But generally what we try to do is get community input in all things that are happening in the neighborhood. We contract with the city to do that around zoning and licensing. So if somebody wants a zoning variance, for example, or to add a license to their business, then we would flyer the community or right around that area, within 300 feet of that area, and we'd have a community meeting. Anybody who lives, works on property in the area would have a chance to vote on that, and then we send that as a recommendation to whoever's making the decision in the city. Sometimes it's city council, sometimes it's other boards, but we send it to them, and just as a way of connecting people. But we also try to connect people in other kinds of ways. So we do stuff with community gardening. We've done stuff with SPNN about creating local media. We're working with people on safety issues, creating block clubs, all kinds of things. So kind of whatever comes through, whatever people want to do, we kind of help them fill those goals, reach those goals.
Now, you work closely with the city council members. What type of relationship do you have with the city council?
We do and we don't. We are not part of the city, so we do contract with the city to get community input, but we're not actually city employees, and we're not in any way beholden to the city. So, but a lot of the issues that we are getting community input on are decided by city council, and so we do work closely with Melvin Carter III is our city council person. So we've worked closely with him to do some stuff. Now we're starting an initiative called the Community Investment Campus, which is going to be around Jackson Elementary School. They're doing a similar one in District 8 around Maxfield Elementary School, and that's really working closely with the school and with the city council and the city in general, so the city council, the mayor, everybody, and as well as nonprofits in the area. So. Okay.
So I think you may have touched on this, but your role is community organizer. So what exactly is that? I think you may have touched on it in the first question, but do you have any more to that?
Yeah, I mean, what I do in particular, and our organization works to do, is to bring people together. We want to see people engaged in the community. We want to see people have power to help make some of the decisions and to influence some of the decisions that are being made and directly affect them as residents of District 7 of Frogtown. So we, a lot of times we're conveners. So, next week I'm bringing some people together to talk about community gardening, to talk about how there's a lot of community gardening that's happening in the white and African American communities, and then there's community gardening that's happening in the Hmong community, but those aren't always happening together. So we're talking about how do we start doing more of that stuff together, so that these aren't separate things that are happening, but more cohesive. We try to help people set up block clubs, but a lot of what we do is not to do stuff for people, but to help people figure out how to do it for themselves, and so that the community is engaged, and it's the residents, it's the business owners who are making the decisions that happen in their neighborhood.
Now, growing up, I grew up in Summit University area, so I used to get like newsletters or just some information that would be in our mailbox. How do you communicate with the district?
Well, we have a website. We have an email list that we use. Then we also flyer. If we're getting community input on a zoning or licensing issue, we'll flyer around that area. If there's something happening, that we'll flyer. We send out an occasional newsletter. We used to send one out, once a month, and then it came down to quarterly. But it's really expensive, and there's not a lot of money out there for that kind of thing. So we've had to cut back on that. We're also at a bit of a disadvantage because we're the only neighborhood in all of St. Paul that doesn't have a community newspaper. So there's the Midway Monitor, there's other community newspapers, and Frogtown doesn't have one of those. And so that's some of the stuff that we've been trying to work on and setting up with SPNN and others is how do we create our own media? If there's not one that exists now, what do we do so that people in our community can still get their word out? Not just us as an organization, but the community. So.
Okay, so you talk about few challenges with the community. One comes to mind. I just want to touch a little bit on light rail, and I kind of want to talk about it because I remember back to, I don't remember, but I know that there was the Rondo. The 94 went through Rondo.
Absolutely.
Do you think that light rail is going to have any kind of impact on your district?
It's going to have a huge impact, and I think that, personally, I think that there's going to be some good things and some negative things. We've actually not stepped forward as much as some other organizations because we're a consensus-based organization, and there's no consensus in the neighborhood about what those effects of light rail are going to be. And I think that, so it's something that we definitely are worried about. But as far as some of these individual things, I know there's some stuff happening. There's a lawsuit that some residents or some local or community organizations are bringing against the Metropolitan Council, and we're not a member or part of that lawsuit. I think we share a lot of those concerns about how people are going to be impacted. We think it's really important that residents and business owners actually have a say, and I think the way that it's happened so far, particularly with the Metropolitan Council, is that they're getting all this input. They have a ton of meetings, they get input, but there's no actual process for how the information that they get influences the project. So they hear 1,000 different things from 1,000 different people, and then they use that as a menu. So they say, oh, we like that, we like that, we like that. See, we did something for the community. And I think that that's, a concern for us is that there needs to be a process. It's not just, here's all of these contradicting things. There's some people who love it, there's some people who hate it, but how do we kind of put that through some sort of process? And there hasn't been that process. There's been input, but no process.
Okay, so we'll have to see how that all shakes out. That would be pretty interesting here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now you recently moved. You get District 7. You recently moved to a new location. Now, where are you located, and why did you pick that location?
So we moved. We were originally on 533 North Dale, and we've now moved to 685 Minnehaha Avenue, it's off of Dale and Minnehaha, right by Dragon Star, if anybody knows that, the grocery store up there. But we're in the West Minnehaha Rec Center. And we really made that move because the rec center just, it's bringing in tons of community people, young people. There's seniors who have lunches there. There's all kinds of just kind of community action happening. And so we felt that by being there, we have a closer connection to a lot of the stuff that's going on. Also, we're able to then bring other kinds of activities to the rec center, which is, they have great stuff for kids. They have lots of sports activities and things, but we've been able to kind of think of some of the other stuff that we do and bring that in and hopefully bring different people into the rec center as well. So I think it works well as a relationship.
Okay. Do you want to talk about any future initiatives or programs that are coming up?
I think people should definitely keep an eye out for this community investment campus. I think it's going to be really exciting. It's based on the Harlem Children's Zone in New York City, which I don't know if you guys have seen that commercial, the block by block by block commercial that's been going on. So it's one of those. So I think it's still in the beginning processes, but I think that's going to be really exciting.
Okay.
And then also keep an eye out for the Summer of Peace campaign, which is we do every year from June, July, and August, and it's every Thursday from 6 to 8, and we kind of move locations around. So if you want to check out our website, there'll be stuff up there pretty soon for that. So.
All right, wonderful.
Okay.
And thank you so much for coming to the show.
Absolutely, thank you.